everyone, and welcome to episode number 65 of the NordCast. It is Wednesday, July 31st, not 21st, 2024. You can clearly tell that I don't know what day it is because it's the off season. I am your host here, Nordic, and just with Nordic. My other two guys, Carter and Jack, are not here. Carter is on vacation. I actually have no idea what Jack's doing. Probably just playing basketball, but who knows at this point. I do have a guest here with me, so I'm not alone. You guys don't have to listen to just me here today. Today we have a relatively big content creator all the way out in California. She's got like 22,000 followers on Instagram, which is about more than my entire, following everywhere. We have we have Annie here joining us today. How you doing, Annie?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm doing great. I don't know what day it is. I hope you know what day it is because I'm lost. There's
a difference between numerical day and like day of the week. The summertime especially, I always get like, if it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, it could be any which one of those. I have to remind myself, oh yeah, today's Wednesday.
Yeah.
Even though it feels like a Thursday or it feels like a Tuesday, you're like, shoot. It's kind of like after Christmas when you're like, you just don't know what day it is.
Nope. And then it comes around the time for school. But I don't know if you've been in school recently since you're...
Not recently, no. Yeah. So...
All right. So, let me start out with my first question here, and it's the question that we ask pretty much everyone when we bring them on and interview them. How did you get into hockey? Living in California, how did that happen?
Everybody asks me this, but...
Great.
Basically, I grew up in a huge hockey family. Both my parents are from the East Coast, but my dad is the huge hockey fan in the family, kind of lived and breathed the sport. And then when my parents moved out here, raised me and my four brothers, and all of us were put on skates from a very young age. And hockey was always on in the house, even though, the streaming and broadcast rights were not what they were growing up, but constantly the ESPN game was on. And kind of all my brothers played travel hockey, so I was a rink rat, I say. Like, all my weekend plans, I was the sister hanging around the rink and in the stands. So always been around the game, always been a fan, even though my playing career was very short, although I am learning how to play as an adult now, which is super fun. But,
are you like in a men's league? Or
I did, yeah. I am in a co-ed league right now, which has been... It brings a whole new perspective to talking about the game and a new appreciation for what these guys do night in and night out. Not that I didn't appreciate and acknowledge that this isn't an easy sport before, but it's another thing to actually get on the ice and try to do it yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, always knew I wanted to, always, been around the game, loved it, been a fan, and yeah, it's just kind of been in and a part of my life for as long as I can remember.
So have your family just always been Ducks fans, or was your dad like another fan?
Not at all.
For that game.
So funny enough, my dad is from Long Island, but he's huge. No. He is a huge Montreal Canadiens fan.
Oh, I wasn't expecting that at all. Wow.
No one does. They always think Rangers or Islanders. But moving out here, so I'm one of five. I have four brothers, and there's me. So it goes, my older brother is a Kings fan. I'm a Ducks fan. Next brother's a Kings fan. I'm a Ducks fan. My other brother's a Ducks fan. And then our youngest brother sees us as Kings and Ducks fans, and he decides to be different. He wants to be a Sharks fan.
I knew that. Wow.
All three California teams are represented in this house, which makes it super fun, especially when all three teams are good in and around playoff time, which hasn't been the case for quite some time. But it's definitely nothing. Rivalry times are super fun here. Obviously, it would be easier if we all liked the same team, but that's not the way the cards were drawn. But wouldn't have it any other way. We love the trash talk. We love the rivalries. So.
Does it get heated in the house when like Anaheim plays Montreal, Caulfield versus Zegras? Does it get heated, or is it just a mid-off between the two bad teams?
I mean, it's kind of a mid-off at this point. I mean, it was super fun when Montreal went on their run in 2021. We were all we were rooting for it because my dad was super excited, and it was super unexpected, especially that year. So it's always fun. It's fun to have that banter when the game is on, but it's never like, both teams are still rebuilding, so it's never that serious. But it's It gets more heated when it's the Kings and the Ducks, because even though both teams, I mean, well, the Kings are obviously better off right now, but, you know, even though the rivalry wasn't what it once was, it still gets kind of heated, so.
Well, Anaheim's definitely coming out of this rebuild here. They should be getting a lot better in the coming season, so hopefully that rivalry will get back to what it was.
That's
so, yeah. So another question here I have for you is content creation. How did this happen? How did you start making content, and when did it start? How did it grow to what it was today? And yeah.
So I studied sports marketing in school. I knew I always wanted to work in sports. At first I thought I wanted to be an athletic trainer, and then science was just never my thing. I was like, well, this isn't going to go well. So
there's science in that?
Yeah, you have to take like biology, because it's technically in some schools like a health science major, so you have to take biology, chemistry stuff, which let's not look at I don't even know where my high school transcript would be right now, but science
I'm
was
taking
not
chem this year.
Oh
so,
boy. Godspeed.
Yeah.
But then I was like, maybe like a front office kind of role. And then I did internships, and I just kind of didn't like them. Like it was fun. Like obviously it was cool kind of being in the front office, but just didn't want to be on the business side. I was like, yeah, this isn't really my thing. And then I went outside of sports for a bit, went right out of college, worked, and really didn't like what I was doing. I knew I wanted to get back into sports, specifically hockey. And then that was kind of around the time podcasts were really big. And, you know, a friend asked me, well, if you could do anything, like, what would it be? Because I was at a point where I was like, I don't know what I want to do with my life. Like, you're young and you think that, you know, you have to have life figured out. You don't. But at the time, you think everything, you know, you have to have a plan and follow it. But I said, if she was like, money doesn't matter, what would you want to do? I said, I would want to talk sports. And she said, Annie, people do that for a living and get paid for it. I said, I know, but I didn't go to school for journalism. I don't have that broadcast background. But I realized that people go online and post their stuff, and it turns into something. So I at first launched a podcast long ago and at first it was very broad, kind of just talking all 4 major professional sports. And then COVID hits, and you're like, well, there's no games going on. Even though there was a lot going on with, you know, the return to play and, you know, all sorts of drama in the off season. I then turned to TikTok, and I started making videos, and took a bit, and all of a sudden it was just for fun, just to pass the time while COVID's going on. And then kind of started to take off when the return to play happened. And I was like, okay, we may have something here. So just kind of kept it up there, kept posting. And from there was able to work with a couple brands that were able to pay me well as far as part-time stuff goes. I was able to get a gig on a radio show when I came back to California. Like, it's just kind of crazy how the world kind of launched itself when the biggest thing holding me back was kind of the fear of what people would think of me. And what if, what if I make a fool of myself? What if people, make fun of me, whatever. And one thing about content creation, and you can attest to this as well, is you got to get over that. If you want to make it here, you have to get over what people might say. Because the fact of it is, if they're going to talk about you when you're posting stuff you love and something that you're passionate about, they're already talking about you. Like, it is what it is. And like what they say is none of your business. And I was thinking, like, am I going to let what somebody thinks of me hold me back from doing something I love? Like, that seems silly. That seems stupid. Like, I'm not going to do that. And, of course, we've seen the internet where, like, there's cold takes and things like that. And that was another fear I had. I was like, oh, my gosh, like, what if I, like, say something really bad and I get roasted, dragged, which has happened before, and it's not the end of the world. But the other thing, exactly. Like, it's a big deal in the moment, but then the next day you're like, okay, like, the sun rose, like, people forget, whatever. Everyone's on to the next thing. But you got to be good with being wrong. Like, and everybody's wrong. We're all wrong, no matter. I mean, we all watch, we love the game, but, we're going to miss. We're going to miss a lot, and you got to be comfortable with that. And, that was a big thing to get over, because I like being right. You want to be? Of course. Like, why wouldn't people want to go 10 for 10 on picks, takes, things like that? But the reality is, we can't predict the future. There's only so much we have control over. But it's fun. It's a fun, I've enjoyed it, and I feel like as social media changes, you're kind of I kind of get a different idea of what I want to do and what I want this to turn into, but it's been a very fun process figuring it out.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely relate to, like what people think about you. I mean, I'm a kid. Like, I started in middle school when I was making content in like 2020. And so I started around kind of the same time you did.
Yeah.
And, going through high school, like I'm going to be a senior next year. And like, I can't tell you how many times people will be like, talk about you and, like, yo, you're the YouTuber and, you make content on social media. You just got to block that out. That's the biggest thing.
Exactly.
You can't let that get to you. So, first off, where did you go to college at?
I went to Duquesne University in Pittsburgh.
Ooh. Oh, in Pittsburgh. Wow.
In Pittsburgh.
So, kind of close to me.
Yeah. I wanted to get out of California. I wanted to do something different. And I knew I wanted to go to school where there was an NHL team. So I could work for them and intern them, which I eventually did. But Pittsburgh was not like anything I had ever experienced just growing up in California, almost night and day. So I really got to experience a sports town that lived and breathed their sports teams, and it helps that all three sports teams have the same colors, so everybody's in black and gold constantly. Funny enough, I was actually my freshman year, and this may reveal how old I am, whatever. My freshman year was the 2012 Pens Flyers first round series where the Flyers took down, which I was able to go to a few of those games. That was for a first round playoff game. I tell people, I was like, that was intense, like playoff hockey. Like I had been to playoff games at Honda Center, at then Staples Center, now Crypto.com Arena. It was seeing a rivalry like that in person in the first round. I said, you don't even know. Like the energy in there, I can't even describe it, what that was like. But that was
during like the prime of Crosby too, and
that was the year.
Were pretty good at that time.
Right, Brizgalov in net with Bobrovsky as his backup. Claude Giroux, and people thought Claude Giroux was going to overtake Crosby as the best player in the world. It was Scott. That was the Hartnell down when that whole thing was going on.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
But yeah, it was wild. But it was, I knew living in Pittsburgh, I was like, this isn't forever. Like I couldn't see this past my 4 years of college, but it was an incredible experience and got to really appreciate, I think, also where I'm from too, just being from California and being because even like living there, people like, oh, you're gonna convert, you're gonna be a full Pittsburgh fan. That did not happen once. Like the Ducks came into town, the Dodgers came into town, the Ducks came into town, I was front of the line, I was there, always very proud to rep my teams. So sometimes you have to like go away to appreciate where you're from and where you want to end up. So
it's never bad to try anything new either. Like going like you went to the completely other side of the country, so it definitely was like it's a whole different world out here compared to what it is out there. So yeah. So when did these brand deals start coming? Like how far in and who exactly?
So what helped was my first one. I was actually able to get a part-time job with a liquor company.
Really? I
was able to kind of translate the work I had done with sports into a different industry, which was super fun. And then they had sports partnerships, so I was able to, anytime I was able to kind of bring my worlds together. It was super fun. But the first brand deal I ever had was actually with DirecTV, funny enough. And
really?
Yeah, I know. DirecTV. And then the NHL, and I collaborated on two videos, which was fun. It's just, it's one of those things where I tell people, I was like, listen, you just have to, because I don't have, as far as like some of the other creators that they had worked with on these campaigns, and I got one with, Discover Card, and they worked with, it was like for ads for the playoffs, and the other two, it was me, and then it was Nasher, and then the hockey guys. I don't have nearly the following that these guys do. So I tell people, I was like, you have to worry, like, does following and engagement matter? Of course it does, but you have to worry more about the content that you put out, because that's what you have control over. And, the algorithm changes constantly. You know this all too well.
Yes.
I know.
Yes.
And it's so hard. Once you think you have it figured out, it changes. So control what you can control by putting out content that you want to see, that you're proud of, that showcases who you are, whether it's sense of humor, whether it's creativity, whether it's knowledge, analysis, reporting, whatever it is. Like, I just say, listen, your audience will find you. You just have to put yourself out there and make sure that you're showcasing what you need to and what showcases your talents best. Because even when I got a co-host of a radio show, it was on a video, I think that got 3,000 to 4,000 views. It wasn't anything that blew up or went viral. It would just ended up on the right person's For You page. So it's all about community. It's about, and you've done a great job of that too. Like, you have loyal followers. You have a very loyal community that follows you. I see it on your videos. There's constantly people that remember things that you say from previous videos or that comment on things. Like, that's what it's about. It's about building community. It's about creating something that's going to last for the long term. Because you see it constantly. So many people blow up, or like have one video blow up, they get a ton of followers, but they don't do anything with it. They don't build community. People don't know things about them. People don't know their biases, players they like to report on, why they feel certain ways about certain teams and certain players. So as far as like brand deals go, like, I guess I'm not the best to say because I don't do a lot of outreach, and a lot of them have come to me, and I've been pretty fortunate in that regard. But I've done that by just making content that showcases who I am and the things that I love about the sport of hockey.
You've just been doing what you love, pretty much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to do. Like, good things come to the people. Put good things into the world, good things will come back.
Exactly. So moving into your content, how do you like come up with some of these ideas that you do? Or do you just come naturally and you see them on TikTok and you just recreate them? Like, how does this happen?
So it kind of depends on the content. Like, if there's something big happening with one of my teams, obviously if something big with the Ducks is happening, I know to make a video. Like, I know people are going to be expecting a video from me. So I'm like making sure, it's a drop everything. It's kind of a drop everything. You're like, okay, like, timeline matters here. But as far as like the skits and the ideas, I am somebody that just, I remember a lot from things I've watched. Like, I'm somebody, I will reference SpongeBob at least once a day. So
no meanies allowed.
Did you see the sign? Yeah.
I did see the sign.
I had to have one SpongeBob, which, by the way, you're getting the first look at the new setup.
Oh, really?
So this is the first show, yeah. I don't know if you can tell, that's the Stanley Cup. That's Dustin Penner, Ryan Getzlaf, and Corey Perry. There's the Miracle on Ice Sports Illustrated cover, which I found in my parents' garbage, believe it or not.
What?
I know. I was at my parents' and they asked me to take out the trash. I opened the lid and there it was sitting on top. And I walk into my dad, I'm like, what is this? And why didn't you offer it to me?
Yeah, exactly. I would have said the same exact thing. Why didn't you give this to me?
The article wasn't that good I'm like, that's not the point here. So I saved it. Exactly. He doesn't get it. But, content-wise. But I get a little bit of it is like looking at, there's obviously trends and things like that. I try, like, if there's a trending sound and I can relate it to sports or relate it to hockey or something going on, I'll do it. But a lot of it is kind of just retaining movie scenes and TV scenes. I'm like, hey, what makes sense in terms of, what's going on in the NHL right now? So it's a lot of sometimes, like, I'll sit there and I'll try and brainstorm it, but most of the time they just kind of come to me. Like, I'll be walking my dog, I'll be out to dinner, and all of a sudden it'll just, like, pop into my head. I'm like, oh gosh, and I'll, like, read my notes app so I don't forget. Or I'll try and look on TikTok if the sound is already there. But it's also just, like, trying to think of ways to make the game, kind of tie the game a bit more into pop culture and tie into things that people can relate to. I don't know, I think sometimes people take it a little too far in that regards, where it's like, oh, and it's like, I saw one where it's like NHL teams as like sodas. I'm like, okay, are we?
I saw that. I saw that one too.
All right, let's okay. We've gone a little bit too far here, but like certain things that are happening right now, like, there's the ever old, like, what your team says about you kind of thing, like, that you can tie in from TikTok and social media, but it's all about kind of expanding on that and trying to make it something different. So yeah, TikTok is building off other people's ideas, but also trying to get creative with it and make my own.
My favorite one you did was when you like aligned NHL teams to rock bands. That was
Yes.
awesome. I remember that. That was great. That was my favorite one you've done.
Thank you. I tried to. That one was because I love rock and roll, obviously, but I was like, maybe people like won't relate to that too much. That's not that popular, like just with the current crowd. So I remember I started it with like Taylor Swift albums, and I'm not a Swiftie at all. At all. So I was asking my friends, like, describe these to me, and it wasn't authentic. And I was like, this isn't me. Like, did it do decently? Yeah, I guess. But I did the Rock Band one, which I know like the back of my hand, and it did so much better. And I was like, because I was passionate about it. I knew what I was talking about. And it was one of those lessons from the universe where it was like, hey, yeah, this is why you don't try and fake the funk. Like, do what you love. Like, do things that kind of excite you, and don't try to fit just because something's trending or something. So I appreciate that, though. Thank you. That is one of my favorite ones I've done, too.
How could you compare NHL teams to Taylor Swift albums? Like,
it was a stretch.
I never do that.
It was a stretch. I'll tell you. I tried. It was like the one "Welcome to New York." I related to the Rangers. She has an album called Reputation, and it was after the whole Kim Kardashian thing happened. So I was like, okay, you can there's teams kind of wanting revenge, like in their like reputation. It was a stretch, man. I was struggling.
I could never do that.
I couldn't even finish the series. Like, I didn't even want to. I think I got 16 teams done. I went through 2 divisions, and then I was like, I can't do this. Like, I don't have anything left in me.
Is there even that many albums you had to be reusing them, right?
Oh, I was reusing a lot of them. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't assigning like
32 albums out there.
Exactly. So, like I said, I'm not a Swiftie either, so I wasn't like super knowledgeable or passionate about it either. So I was struggling.
Fair enough. I would have struggled too, so it's not just you. All right, let's transition over to the Anaheim Ducks here now and talking about the actual team themselves. So we'll start off with the new logo. Now, the hat that I'm wearing isn't exactly the logo, but it's similar to the new logo.
It's very similar, yes.
They went back to the Mighty Ducks type theme here with a few different color changes. What are your thoughts on it?
I absolutely love it. I know the biggest critique from a lot of people is they want the eggplant and jade back, but that's not going to happen. Not under this ownership. They wanted the clear separation from the Disney era back when they took over, and they put a lot of money into the new marketing for it. And, being in Orange County, I get it. You want the orange theme in there. But I thought they absolutely nailed it. I love the logo. I love the kind of the added detail they have. I love the eye on the Mighty Ducks on the mask. I wasn't sure how I would feel about it when I saw the preview they had, but all together I was like, oh, that works. And then the all orange too. I love the look of the orange helmet and the orange pants too, and just the new number font, the new name font, everything all together. I just think it was beautifully done. They finally compromise. This is the best compromise fans could hope for, because we've had the Web D for countless years and it's been clowned on. Exactly. Thank you. And
I hate this. I'm sorry, but I hate it. I hate this jersey. I hate wearing it. I just want to get the new one and never wear this again.
Feel that. But it's, it feels like a great refresh, a great start to this new era, because the team's going through a rebuild, so it seems only fair to have a rebrand, and there's no reason why a team like this with so much history of just great jerseys and great looks should have to be now suffering to be one of the worst. It just doesn't make sense. So, and especially with the fans, not only fans in Anaheim, but outside in the hockey world have been saying to bring this logo back, and they brought it back, but just tweaked it a little bit. I think it's great.
I think they did an amazing job. And I think, too, again, as you said, they're in a rebuild. They're probably through the worst of this rebuild, too. They should hopefully be coming out of it within the next, 3 to 4 years, maybe sooner, I would say. Yeah. So I definitely think the rebrand's good. Now that we're on this topic, how did your brothers feel about the new Kings logo?
Kind
kind of back
one
to the
brother
Gretzky
thinks,
era, kind of.
I think one brother really wanted the purple and gold back.
Yeah.
I know my dad kind of adopted the Kings as his second team, with his California team, I guess. And he's like, just too similar to the Gretzky one, which that was kind of the point. And then the other one thinks it's super clean. I like it. I'm not gonna say this because I'm not just saying this because I'm biased, but I think the Ducks absolutely steamrolled them in terms of
absolutely
marketing, the rebrand. I mean, it was fun. I mean, kind of showing the players' reaction was cool, but they just had them like after practice, like, "Hey, open this box," whereas the Ducks had the whole video, the campaign, things like that. But I know everybody wanted the purple and gold. That the reverse retros were the Kings. They were
beautiful.
Both rounds were top tier, and if they wanted to bring those back, they would easily be a top jersey in the league. But I get from the Kings' perspective, the Lakers are purple and gold. That's them in LA, and I get wanting to have your own color scheme amidst iconic franchises. You have the Lakers and the Dodgers that you're competing with in an LA market. So I get wanting to have your own set of colors, and the black, the silver, the white, it's very, royal, regal. I get it. I get the vibe we're going for here. I think they liked the look altogether. The logo itself, it's like, okay, like you just bolded the font. I guess that's fine, but all in all, I do like that they brought that logo back.
I think it's all right. I think the Ducks is definitely better, but I think it's all right.
It's clean. It's a clean color scheme. It's a clean look. It's nothing. It's not going to knock your socks off. It's nothing like, oh my God, it's gorgeous. It's not going to put them higher up in the jersey rankings, but it's all right.
Well, the Ducks logo and the new jerseys definitely will. People seem to have and it's funny too because I'm a Flyers fan. People seem to be talking saying the Ducks copied the Flyers. I think you made a video on that too.
I did make a video on it, yes. Which, I get it in terms of the orange, but also no one owns a color in this league. Like the amount of teams that are red, white, and blue. Like
the Oilers have yellow, orange.
The Islanders have orange. It's nobody's trying to be anybody here. Like it's I know everyone's like, so you want to be the Flyers? I'm like, no, they don't. Like they're literally.
They got Cutter. So we talk about that later.
But, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So moving into what they did this offseason. Thank you for watching. How do you feel they did? Especially did you think the moves that they made, even though they didn't make much, was the right thing to do, or should they have made some more moves? Where do you stand on that?
Sorry, I just had to do not disturb, so no more text messages come through. But
don't worry,
obviously it was a miss on July 1st. That's to be expected. Especially when, the hype around with that Pat Verbeek was, harping on that said, hey, we want a top winger, we want left-handed, we want a top defenseman. That's going to be our goal this offseason. We have cap space to spend. And, you kind of look at the sexy names on the free agent market. You think, listen, you have dreams of Sam Reinhart. He wasn't leaving Florida. We know that. But, once the Stamkos once you start to hear that things with Stamkos and Tampa weren't going well, you start to think, okay, Pat Verbeek has history there. Alex Killorn's on the team. Hey, that could be a possibility. And even Jonathan Marchessault not signing with Vegas. And, of course, Nashville ends up landing them both. Which, listen, the Stamkos numbers, that's a hefty deal for where the Ducks are as a franchise right now. But they easily could have made that Marchessault deal work. So at that point, that's the gamble you take with free agency, though, is that, you can go to market, you can offer the world to these players, but they got to want to come play for you. Some of these guys, the Verbeek had overpaid in the past. Look at the Ryan Strome, Alex Killorn, Radko Gudas deals that he signed last summer and the summer before that. The thing with those players, though, that's not Steven Stamkos. They're not a Jonathan Marchessault, where they, you look at a guy like Alex Killorn, it's like, hey, he got his 2 Stanley Cups. He's getting a payday now that he wouldn't be able to get. And he gets to live in Southern California. Steven Stamkos doesn't exactly have that mindset, and Steven Stamkos is a guy that can go beef up that Hall of Fame resume by going elsewhere and competing for a Stanley Cup again. Likewise, Jonathan Marchessault, obviously a lot younger, a bit lighter of a resume, but kind of same regard there. Now, you kind of think about it, you're like, yes, it's disappointing. Yeah, you wanted to make a bigger splash around free agency, but you also are thankful that he didn't overpay, even though the Ducks have the flexibility as of right now to do so, because you think about all the young guys that are going to be coming up. You're going to want to give them deals, lock them in, and the likes of, Mason McTavish is going to need money. Leo Carlsson, Lukas Dostal, Trevor Zegras. I know there's a lot of trade stuff around with him, but he's a Duck as of now, so we're going to speak of him as he's staying a Duck. So you just think about all the talent that you got to lock in the years to come. You want to give yourself the flexibility to be able to do that. So I'm comfortable with the Ducks not offering that Stamkos, that deal that Nashville offered Stamkos. But it is disappointing that, July 1st they were the only team that didn't make any moves. But I guess it's better to do nothing than make the bad move. And they're still, And then,
I know that pretty well. So, my Flyers didn't do anything either, so I'm not. Yeah.
And that's, everyone's, the thing to think about, too, is that it was, it's July 1st. Opening night is in October. There's plenty of time for other moves to be made. And he already has, Brian Dumoulin, traded with Brian Dumoulin, which isn't exactly a needle mover. But it's also giving an opportunity for the young guys to really step up next season, which was the expectation last year. However, injuries upon injuries, there wasn't a game that the Ducks played in where everybody was healthy. Yep. So that's why, everybody kind of ragging on the Ducks and saying that, they're further off from their rebuild. Like there's some people, the way some people talk about them, it's very clear that they don't pay attention or watch, because had that team been healthy last year, they would not have finished as low as they did. And I'm confident in saying that. And that's not saying we're going to see a gigantic leap come next year, but I do think we will see. Pat Verbeek did say he wants to be competing for a playoff spot next season. I don't think we're going that far quite yet. I don't think they're going to be in wild card contention yet.
Yeah.
But I do see them coming out of the draft lottery. The top draft lottery picks as far that goes. They'll still be in the draft lottery, but a little bit closer to coming out of the basement there for sure.
Well, they won't be last. At the very least in the division, because San Jose exists.
Yeah, they got Mike Green's cooking over there too, though. So
maybe. Well, I mean, I have them 6th in the Pacific. I think that I look in terms. San Jose, they got better. I think they're still 8th. I think Calgary got a lot worse. They're built for the future, but they got a lot worse. And I look at Anaheim, they have a lot of young players. And I look at their top 6. It's actually a pretty good top 6 if all their guys convert very well. And again, as you said, stay healthy. Like, Leo Carlsson was awesome in the games that he played. I remember, the Flyers came down and played Anaheim, and we won the game, but Carlsson scored a hattie. And it was – I remember saying in the game, I'm like, this kid's going to be special. So, going into that, what is, the young guys, which one are you most excited to watch this coming year? Is it Cutter Gauthier? Is it Leo Carlsson in his sophomore year? Is it Trevor Zegras? Who's the one you're most excited for?
It's tough to pick one, because I think there's a lot around all of them.
Yeah.
It's just very intriguing. Like you said, Trevor Zegras coming off having a revenge year, I think would be, God, he still stays healthy, hopefully, but hopefully comes into camp healthy, ready to go. Obviously, both he and Jamie Drysdale coming in later, I think, put it off. I think, you try to say that, that didn't have an impact. I think it absolutely did when you can't come start day one in training camp. Yeah. Leo Carlsson hopefully playing a full 82-game season, and, he battled injury as well last year, which put him out of the Calder race pretty easily, but would love to see a full sophomore season from him. I'm also intrigued to see, and this may have been one of your questions, but I think a big question mark that's along a lot of Ducks fans is they've said that they're going to name a captain sometime this summer. So is Is it going to be, who's it going to be? Is it going to be one of the young guys? I'm personally on the side of naming one of the young guys the captain, especially as this rebuild's coming into fruition and they're coming out of it. I really don't see the point in naming one of the veterans a captain when they may not be here in 2 years and you have to rename another one. I don't really see the purpose in that. I like the Sidney Crosby route. I like the Jonathan Taves route. I like the Connor McDavid route, the Gabriel Landeskog route. I could go on of giving a young guy the opportunity to wear the C and be the leader in that locker room. So whoever, if it is one of the young guys really, or even if one of the younger guys gets an alternate, how they step into that role. I also think the goaltending situation is going to be interesting with Lukas Dostal coming off that world championship win, and really, I mean, he's ready. He is ready for the starting job in Anaheim, and the only reason why he won't have it is because of John Gibson and that nice little cap hit he has. But if they, that's another thing, is Verbeek going to be able to move him if he wants to? If not, that's a solid goalie tandem to have. It's not the worst in the league, but it's not the best, but it's a lot of potential there. And, but it's time. I do think Dostal is absolutely ready to take the reins and be the starter. It'll just be interesting to see how that all plays out. And looking at the blue line, too, I mean, you have Pavel Mintyukov, who is just showing signs of being an absolute weapon on the blue line. You have Olin Zellweger, too. I mean, there's limitless potential and so much talent on this team and coming up through the system. It's really exciting. So next year, God willing, everybody's healthy, we'll get to see a lot of positive steps moving forward.
The overall prospect pool and just youth of this team is just so exciting to talk about. I mean, again, as you said, Carlson, Gauthier, McTavish, Zegras, that list goes on and on. It's just really exciting. Yeah. So, going back to what you said, who specifically would you name captain on this team?
I go back and forth. So, I was on the Troy Terry train for the longest time, and I still think he would be a great choice, especially because he's locked in. That was a 7-year deal he signed last year, so he's got 6 more years now where he's locked in. He's only, I want to say 20, he's got to be, 27 years old now?
He is 26. I have a put up on my thing next to me.
Okay, so. All right. I was like, whew. But, still, not one of the young guys, but still, he's locked in. He's going to be a part of that core. He played under Getzlaf, really, played on a line with Getzy his last year, so really went under his wing and kind of got that mentorship from him before he retired. And I really think it was the smart move to not have a captain after Getzlaf had been there and worn the C for so long, because it really gives a chance for a guy to, if there's no C, you have to have a guy step up. Somebody has to step up without having the letter, and just it kind of shows who the natural leader is, who wants to be there, take control, say something to the team here. And I saw a lot of positive, signs from Terry, especially dealing with the media, speaking up for his players, standing up for his players too. I mean, I think back to the Jay Beagle, Trevor Zegras incident in Arizona, 2 seasons ago that was, and Terry was one of the first guys in there to defend him. Took a nice took a nice black eye from Jay Beagle. It's one of those things where you really step up, step in. Mason McTavish is a guy whose name's been thrown around, obviously captaining that Team Canada team. People are looking at him. I wouldn't hate it. I would be shocked if they picked him. I think Big Boy, and you always see him, he's always involved when there's scrums and things like that. Yep. Kid needs to stay out of the box though. So if they're gonna make him the captain, I think you got to see more discipline from him in that regard. But it wouldn't shock me if they went younger. I hope they do. Like I said, a dark horse candidate for me, honestly, is Leo. I also see signs. I really see a lot of leadership looks from Cutter Gauthier as well. Just the way he handles himself and kind of the maturity there. But obviously, you're not going to give a rookie the C, especially he's not a generational talent. Respectfully, amazing player, but it's not like you're seeing a McDavid or Gretzky here. So it's not one of those instances where you make an exception for a guy that's played one NHL game.
Would it be crazy though if they named him captain after one NHL game?
One game. Oh my!
I mean, that would be something Pat Verbeek would do.
Totally. I was telling somebody the other day. I was like, Verbeek loves a curveball. We know that. And, people throwing around Radko Gudas, Alex Killorn. And I was just like, I see alternates for them for sure. I think it's when Getzlaf was named the captain back, I want to say, Niedermeyer retired in 2010, so Getzlaf was the captain 2010, 2011. They had Timu and Saku Koivu as the alternates. And they even offered it to Saku because he had been captain in Montreal for so long. And Saku said, nope, this is Getsy's team. I'll take the A. And I think it helped having, you have a young captain. Because I think Getzlaf at the time must have been 25, 26. So young guy still, not young, but relatively young. In his prime, exactly. But you have those veterans around him to kind of help in that regard. So I think having a veteran as one of the A's, and then maybe one of the younger guys as an alternate. So like giving Leo the A or McTavish the A, I think would be a good move just as they're maturing, transitioning, and really coming into their roles as NHL players. I think if they were going to give Cam Fowler the C, they would have given it to him already. So I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah. And I don't think he stays past, he's got 2 more years on his deal, I believe. If you have that up, I'm sure you could tell me. But
he's also 32. So by the time that deal's, he's probably going to get traded next season. To be honest,
next season, that's what I'm predicting. Yeah, or even this season to a contender. Because the Ducks have the ability to retain some of that cap too, which is nice. Mm-hmm. Even though you want to avoid dead cap as much as you can. But if I'm picking today, Troy Terry's the safe pick, I think. But if I'm gonna be bold, Leo was Pat's pick at number 2. So
he was.
My bold pick is Leo. My safe pick is Troy Terry.
I like that. I think my pick would be Terry, but I could see the other ones too.
Yeah. I hope they don't go older. That's my only thing.
Again, too, this is a young team. If you go a guy, I remember when the Sabres, a few years ago, they went with Kyle Okposo, and they just got traded. Not even 3 years later. So it would make sense to name someone that is young who can, stay with the team for a much longer period of time. And I think Terry would be probably the safe pick. But again, could be someone else. So looking at the draft this past year with the Anaheim Ducks, I think they made 3 picks. They drafted Beckett Seneca at 3rd overall, which is kind of a shock. They took Stan Stolberg, and they took someone else. I can't forget the other guy. You're going to have to give me a second here. But what were your thoughts on the Seneca pick? Because that was kind of a shock.
That was a shock. To be frank, Pat Verbeek is a guy where you really, even going back to last year with the Leo Carlsson pick, even the other GMs had no idea who he was going to take it to. So he's a guy that plays things very close to the chest, doesn't like to get a lot of things out. So I was not, when people thought, who is he going to pick? It's one of those things where you're like, I have no clue. I'm just going to let Pat do his thing. There's scouts on that team. They know what they're doing. I like to think I do a good job of staying up to date on players, on prospects, scouting, things like that. But these guys have access to God knows what else. So you have to be able to, trust that they're making the right decision. But my face was looking exactly like Bennett's when he got drafted. I was not a name I was expecting, but hey, it's transpired into a lot of fun conversation as well as some good marketing for the league.
Have you seen the shirt that says "What the Duck"? I bought one. I got one. Yeah, I saw it. I sent it to my mom. I'm like, I gotta get this. I gotta get this right now. Perfect.
That's a guy, coming into, he was even saying himself, his playoff run definitely, I think, bolstered his draft, bolstered his stock and really impressed Pat Verbeek and the Ducks. And I think it's good to show some of these young guys that, hey, you can be, no matter where scouts have you, no matter where these analysts have you predicted, it's all about what you do. It's never too late to make an impression. Because people had draft boards going into before last season started for how the 2024 NHL draft was going to go. And here's this kid. He makes a blazing run in the playoffs. He has one conversation with the Ducks back at the Combine, because I don't even think they talked at the draft, from what I heard. And the Ducks knew who they wanted to pick. So I trust Verbeek in that regard as far as, he knew his guy. He knew who he wanted. So I'm thrilled with it. And looking at some of his footage from the development camp from just a few weeks ago, actually. Kid's the real deal. Kid's exciting. And he grew, 4 inches in 2 years? And is showing signs of still growing. So who's to say, what this kid could turn into? But I'm excited.
Verbeek's always been known to throw curveballs. Again, we've said it in this pod already. But honestly, he went off the board in 2021 with McTavish, which was a big shock to me. At the time, I remember that. He went off the board. Well, not really off the board, but I think Fantilli was the number 2 pick.
Yeah.
A lot of people had Fantilli over Carlson. He went with Carlson, and both those guys have hit. So I think that you look in terms of this. I think this is a great pick for Anaheim, and I like the Solberg pick as well. The guy they got later on in the draft. I think he's going to be a good defenseman. I thought they would go with a defenseman originally. With that 3rd pick, I figured they were going to go with someone like Z Bouillon. Yeah. I was a big fan of him, or Sam Dickinson, which I would have got a Dickinson jersey because Dickinson's my last name, so it would have been pretty cool to have a so that would have been pretty awesome. But regardless, I like the Seneca pick a lot. So I got one more Ducks question for you here before we get into the rest of our stuff for today. Trevor Zegras. The guy has been hated on. He had a really down season this past year. And me and my podcast, we've talked about this before. We have an episode on our series titled Michigan Man. And we did a redraft. We did a redraft of 2019. Not in that specific episode, but we did a redraft of 2019. We posted it onto our social media, and people said they wouldn't pick Zegras in the first round. And we went into a full 15-minute rant about how people are just underrating Zegras, underappreciating Zegras. So, where do you view on this? Is Zegras overrated, underrated, underappreciated, and what could this year look like for him?
It's almost to the point where he's so overhated where he's underrated now.
Exactly. That's exactly what I said in the episode.
And it's crazy where all of this stems from the fact that this is a kid that's so marketable. And he's getting the rightful attention because, hey, it drives me nuts. Not only just as a Ducks fan, but as a hockey fan that has been so aggravated with how poorly this league markets its players. And here you are given a player that is so marketable, so fun, entertaining on and off the ice. Meanwhile, and the league does they start to do the right thing, bringing him to the All-Star game. I think that was the great move, despite what people may think, and how I do think the breakaway challenge has gotten a little goofy.
That was the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
I think we lost the plot in Florida. That's when we kind of lost it. But I thought Jack Hughes, I thought that whole thing was clever. What they did, but Florida is where it kind of got okay. Let's we've lost the plot here, but. You see the league do these things. They put him on the video game cover. We're talking that alley-oop assist to Sonny Milano. 20 million views overnight just from that play alone. Those are numbers that don't happen for the NHL. So they see a player that is super marketable. They market them. Meanwhile, then fans start asking, oh, he's not that good. Why is he getting so much attention? Why is he getting more attention than players X, Y, and Z? It's because those players have the personality of a wet sock. That's why.
McDavid's a robot. So.
Literally, a robot. Trying to pull funny, which, granted, sometimes you'll see him in interviews, he'll have one-liners where you're like, that's kind of funny, but it's not, intense. It's still in that robot kind of form he has. But it's crazy just how overhated this kid is, where he does anything, and somebody finds a way to criticize him. I mean, even... what was it? There was a game in Seattle where he was frustrated with what was going on the ice, so he breaks the penalty box camera, and even the broadcasters were like, "Oh, he's got to grow up." He isn't the first player that's broken a penalty box camera. What are we doing here? It's so abundantly clear that some people are so set in their ways of not liking him just because he's getting attention, and I pick a side. Either you want the league to market their players or you don't. Pick.
Exactly.
And he's exciting. You watching him, I'm not saying this just as a Ducks fan, but the team is different with Trevor Zegras in the lineup. The numbers prove that he has a positive impact on that team. And the Ducks were off to a really hot start. beginning of last season, and Zegras goes out, gets injured, and it wasn't like instantaneously like that, but pretty close, like a game or two off, where things just started to go downhill for the Ducks, and the Ducks started to come back down to earth. But he's somebody that puts bums in seats. He's somebody that gets people talking about the game, gets people that don't watch hockey talking about it. And then a funny thing is, when trade rumors start coming, when Frank Saravalli opens his big mouth and starts rumors and just discourse about how Zegras is getting shopped, which has never been confirmed, by the way, just want to point that out there. You know, everybody's like, oh, they gotta get him, but for a deal. All other 31 teams want him on their team. Funny how that works. So I could go on for hours about this, but it's to the point now. You don't have to love his style of play. His attitude, maybe. Yeah, he's young. He needs to mature. Yes, but he's what, 22? 22, I want to say now. Might be 23. But
He's 23.
23.
So he's not like he's like in his 30s.
Exactly. It's so funny how that is with professional athletes, where you forget that some of these kids coming into this league, they're 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 years old. Like, that is so young. That is so young. And then they expect these guys, because they are professional athletes and they play with grown men, to all of a sudden be grown men and know who they are, know how to act, and know what to do. They're still learning. Like, learning who they are, learning about how the game's working, all that stuff. So I am not here for the Trevor Zegras hate. He's absolutely not overrated at this point. I mean, you look at those player polls The Athletic does, and people are like, the most overrated. Zegras is by and far the winner there, and that's just because the guy's marketable. It's crazy to me. Like, these guys want other players to get more attention and more marketability. Show some personality. Like, give us something else besides being a robot on and off the ice.
Listen, he's not Connor McDavid. No. He's not like, and this isn't to discredit him, he's not like a super high-end, like, he's not the best player in the league. He's not one of the best players in the
close.
League. No question. So, yes, but he is a guy that is easier to market with his crazy moves, his Michigan. I remember the flip pass to Milano. That's one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my life watching hockey. I remember all of the Michigans he's done. I remember, the funny thing is, too, I remember this past year even, too. Like, I remember Connor Bedard hit a Michigan, and then literally, like, later that night, Zegras hit one, too. So it's almost like he looked at his phone during the intermission and saw Bedard hit a Michigan. He's like, all right, let me do it myself. And I think it was against the Kraken, too. So
it was. Oh, that was my birthday. Yeah. I was there for that game, so I remember that.
Well, yeah, again, like, he is a marketable player, and that is why the guy got on the cover. That is why the guy is seen on a lot of highlight reels and seen a lot over the league. And he also has a pretty good personality, and he's not like he's like a robot like McDavid. He's a pretty funny dude as well, and he's also dating one of the more famous TikTokers, like, ever. So,
right.
That definitely helps as well. But, again, like, he's a marketable guy, and I think that's why people don't like him. And he says, oh, it's because he only does the tricks and stuff. He's a really talented player. He had 15 points in 31 games played this past year. So, on a not-so-good Ducks team. So, he's going to be special. And I think people just look at this one really bad year from him and say, oh, he's terrible, he's overrated, not going to be anything. The year before that, he had 65 points.
Yeah.
Like, in a full 82-game season.
Like you said.
Exactly. So, like, it's funny, and it isn't just with Zegras, because people do it. People did it with Kakko, people did it with Lafreniere, people did it with a lot of other, people did it with Jack Hughes. And, like, they'll just jump on the gun immediately to say a guy's a bust or that he's overrated or he sucks. And I understand why, because, it's media attention and all that. But again, this guy's literally, like, 4 seasons into his career. Like, the next year is going to be, like, if he plays the full year, it'll be his second fully healthy season. So, again, like, it's just, you can't really jump the gun to overrate someone that quickly, to be honest with you. All right. One last question. I hate to lie to you here. What are your expectations for the Anaheim Ducks as a team this season?
No, sorry, bad. Let's see.
You there? Having technical difficulties here, guys. My apologies.
Sorry, you're frozen.
Oh, am I?
Is it me?
Oh. All right, we will be right back. All right, we are back. I don't know what the heck happened there. I don't know if it was me or her, but again, I'm in Pennsylvania. She's in California, so that already makes our connection not so great. So I have no idea. All right, Annie, I'll go back to asking you my question. What were your expectations for the Ducks this coming year?
Expectations, I hope to see. I just want improvement. I think that's the bottom line here. Trending towards the right direction. And, I'm one of those hockey fans, and I think it's pretty, I think coming with the understanding that rebuilds take time, and it's not, I think as we're seeing with a lot of teams that, there's pros and cons to going the retool or the rebuild route, and the Ducks took the rebuild route, delayed it for as long as they could, and then, Verbeek comes in and tears things down. But, we're kind of seeing it with the Kings where, a retool isn't foolproof, and eventually you gotta shift gears and think about other things, kind of shift gears and kind of try other things. But, patience with it. I think a lot of people expected Verbeek to come in and have an immediate turnaround and kind of things immediately skyrocket towards the right direction because there's so much talent in the pool, but it's not the way things work most of it, not all the time. Like, it's a thing that you need patience with. I mean, look at Colorado, look at, kind of what they had to go through in order to build up to where they are now. They had to be bad for a good bit. They had to build up, get those top 3 picks multiple years. So for me, I just want to see, like I said, trending progress. I know, because one of the biggest critiques from Verbeek is like people were saying, oh, we haven't seen any progress. We haven't seen change yet. It's like, well, we're in the rebuild right now where you're starting to see these young guys are coming in. This is when we're going to start to see that trend back to contention. And we hope to see progress last year, but obviously with injuries that didn't happen. So I just want to see marked improvement. I'm not expecting playoffs next year. I think I said a couple months ago, I said 2 to 3 years. Then we'll see the Ducks back in the playoffs. And I'm comfortable standing by 2 to 3 years at this point. So hopefully not in the basement of the league standings this year. That is my hope. Does that mean you sacrifice, a high pick? Yeah, it does. But it also means your team's getting better. So that is my hope coming into next season. And just seeing the young guys kind of come more into their own as NHL players. That is my hope. And improve special teams, too. That's the power play and penalty kill were absolutely atrocious. So
Don't worry, they weren't the worst because my team was the worst at that. But I definitely think the team will be better. I think that, they didn't make a lot of moves, to improve the roster. But I think that, honestly, the young guys will be another year in, and I think that they'll chem really well. I think this team could definitely get some offense going for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that will make things really exciting.
I mean,
all right.
the thriving of Frank Vetrano certainly helps too. So
yeah,
and he's at a bargain. I think just over $3 million. I think is his salary.
He had a hell of a year this past year. He is getting paid. If I can find him, 3.6. So that's great.
That's a steal.
But he is expiring at the end of next season, so might see him get moved. We'll see.
We'll see. He says he's bought into the rebuild, so we'll see what happens there. But hey, if Pat Verbeek can get a nice, if he has another great year and Pat Verbeek can get a nice deal for him come the deadline, I wouldn't be shocked. I thought for sure he was going to go to the Rangers at the deadline last year, just from what I was hearing. But listen, I didn't hate the result in the Eastern Conference Final. We'll just leave it at that.
Right. All right, so one more thing here before we get into news and other things around the league. I asked the fans to ask you some questions here. I don't have a ton. I only have like 2 or 3.
It's okay.
This first one here comes from Zach, and we already covered this. He asked, what are your thoughts on the Ducks' overall future? Even though we just kind of said that in like a 50-minute.
We all broke the bright. Future is bright.
Future is bright. This next one comes from Marcusi or Marcus. We also covered this too. He said what Anaheim does with Zegras, like what exactly happens. How does she feel about the perception of Zegras? Kind of already went into that.
We went over the perception of Zegras.
We didn't talk about the trades necessarily, like the rumors.
We did not. We did not talk about that. I personally, I don't, unless the Ducks get offered a too good to be true deal for him, there's no point in trading him now after an off year. So that's why the Frank Saravalli BS about, him being shopped, I was like, why would he be shopped now when his stock couldn't be lower? It bothered me so much when I think it was during the draft, when Emily Kaplan was the broadcast. Emily Kaplan was like, oh, he's going to get traded. It's not if, it's when. Oh, yeah. Oh, that irked me so much. Because it's just like, what? First of all, we're at the draft here. Like, we're not. How does Zegras come in when you're talking about these young players? But, oh, yeah, he doesn't fit into Verbeek's system, his style of play. When Verbeek has never said that. Like, Verbeek has never. When people ask if he's going to get traded, Verbeek's like, Gretzky was traded. Like, anybody can get traded, and that's true. Like, anybody can get traded. Like, nobody's untouchable, as we've seen. I mean, we've seen guys get traded we didn't think would, and it drives me absolutely, the narrative just from, that's why these insiders drive me absolutely nuts, because they can just throw anything on Twitter, and Frank Saravalli, who is repeatedly wrong about things, especially about the Ducks, is able to start this whole discourse on it. Drives me nuts. But do I think he'll get traded? I don't think he'll get traded this summer, unless it's an absolute steal, like I said. If he does get traded, I think it would be mid-season or off-season next year, if that. But I just don't see it happening. I really don't. To my core, I don't think he gets traded. But if he does, it'll be after he, shows that, hey, has a hot start to the season, has a great year, it'll be once his stock is back up and things are looking better for him and the Ducks can get a decent return at that. So that's why any notion of trade talk right now, I don't listen to it.
I will say this. I'll say this about Zegras and potentially getting traded. Has Verbeek looked into it? Probably. I mean, if there's offers, if there's offers out there, if there was, let's say Philly made an offer to him because they got his friend Drysdale there. Of course Verbeek had to listen in, because what if the deal?
That's his job.
Exactly. I'm sure you could look at any team in the National Hockey League, and I could pull up the Minnesota Wild and go to Joel Eriksson Ek, and there's probably been offers there. GMs do that. They'll look into teams and they'll see if the offer's there and it'll make the team better. That doesn't mean that they're going to trade the guy though.
Exactly. Exactly. There's been offers for Sidney Crosby. There's been offers for Alex Ovechkin, and the fact that GMs are listening, they're doing their job. Yeah, you're going to listen. You'll be like, okay, enlighten me. What do you have to offer my play?
Yeah.
Let's see. And then if it's not, then you decide, okay, get lost, or hey, let's talk, let's go through this. You're gonna kick the tires on things, of course. But that doesn't mean, like you said, that doesn't mean he's being shopped just because somebody's picking up the phone or somebody's opening a message or listening to somebody. It doesn't mean he's being shopped. You nailed it. But yeah, he's doing his job as a general manager. Exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know. Again, Saravalli, I think, definitely has some opinions and some not so great sources. That's all I'll say about that.
Don't get me started. I have a meme on Twitter that I use where I'm like, we don't listen to Frank Saravalli.
I think I've seen that. I've seen that meme. Yes, yeah. I love that. Ooh, this is a good one. This one comes from Emma. She says, what would you say to the guys that are giving girls a hard time because they're into hockey? And she also said, that's awesome, Nordic.
Oh,
thank you.
What would I say?
I'm interested to hear your answer on this.
The guys that give girls a hard time about being into hockey?
Yeah.
Hockey's for everyone. Fuck off. Sorry. I don't literally. It's so funny, especially, I don't know how old Emma is, but as you get older, you start to think, guys are always saying, oh, they love when girls like sports. They love that. But then you start to understand that, no, some guys, well, actually, most guys, they don't like girls that are into sports. They like girls that like sports, but not as much as them. Or they like hearing they like girls who like hearing guys talk about sports. So, but any guy in my experience that has an issue with a woman liking sports, he's just insecure and has, just has internal problems going on. So to that I say they're not worth your time, because there's plenty of guys out here. It's not only in the creator space but in the hockey world that are very welcoming to women and girls who want to take an interest. And even with the success of women's hockey and the PWHL going on right now, like, there's space for women here, and don't let anyone make you feel otherwise. So
absolutely.
I just, it's a whole, anybody, I mean, I get comments all the time, and usually it's, you go to the profile, it's usually from, troll accounts or, like, 12-year-olds who still...
One follower.
Yeah, one follower,
Private
don't
account.
talk to girls, like, nobody worth your time, so...
Username 8216943.
User, exactly, with not their profile, a profile picture that's not them, private, no posts, it's always posts like that, so...
How it is from everyone, actually. Not
No,
even just, like,
I
people
know.
make fun of... Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't get people that do that. I've never been one to do that. I see a girl that's into hockey. I'm not like going like, oh, you can't make content. Like, I don't understand how people like think that. Just, and I think, again, like you mentioned the PWHL. Like, I actually followed the PWHL. I watched games this year over the NHL. Like it's actually pretty damn fun. Is it as as high scoring? Is it as it's not like, you look at the stats, like, it's facts, like, it's not as high scoring as the NHL is, but it's still fun. And I think that, again, after their first year, they got a ton of growth and they got a ton of support from me. Like, I literally bought a champion shirt.
Love that.
Yeah, I mean, part of it is too that I just collect things. And again, like, I think that, the way, like, when I first got into hockey, I remember, like, there were, like, 2 women's leagues, and there wasn't, like, one specific league for the NHL, like, really support and go into. But then PWHL came into the fold this past year, and I remember when I first heard about it, I was a little bit skeptical, like with Major League Hockey, but Major League Hockey is a completely different thing. I don't know if you know what that is. But
I'm hearing about it.
Yeah, that is weird. Definitely something that I'm going to talk about soon, but it's very strange from a guy.
I'm curious how that's all going to work.
Yeah, I was skeptical at first about the PWHL, not for the reasons like MLH, but again, like a league coming in, it's a little bit like, kind of have your concerns and stuff. But again, like, after it fully went through, I really enjoyed it, and I think that it's a great thing to come for women's hockey for sure. So
totally.
Yeah,
and
absolutely love.
They're gonna add more teams. The growth is coming for them. Like, it's crazy to think the amount that they've done, and it's only been a year, and the funding that they have. It just shows, like, you invest in women's sports, good thing, people will come, and we've seen it with the WNBA this year too. We see it, you see it tie over to, women's college, from women's college sports to the professional leagues. So it's the beginning. It's only the beginning as far as a resurgence for women's sports. But yeah, to any women listening to this, don't let anybody make you feel like you don't belong here or that you don't have a right to be a fan, because you do. So that's the thing, is like, and I tell people, I was like, what gives somebody the right to tell you, unless you're being, obviously all the, racist, homophobic, all those, unless you're being a bad person, nobody has the right to tell you that you can't like something or be a part of a community. So, and there's plenty of, we have a good number, as far as hockey content creators, I think we have a good mix of people, specifically on TikTok. I think it started back in 2020, it kind of, like, there were a lot, and I think the number has definitely dwindled down as far as, like, consistent posters.
I remember there were a lot of them, yeah.
There used to be a lot, and now, like, the numbers, like, there's less of us now, but it's still, like, a very strong community, and a lot of people are posting more about it, which is cool. Like, it's fun to see the growth of, whether it's myself, Mike, you, Marcus, Max, people like that are just have been a part of this community, and we all have our special little corners, our little niches. Well, we all post about the league, and we love it, and we promote it in a really healthy way. So, if you're looking for communities to be a part of, and, because that was a tough thing for me growing up, was, I didn't have friends that liked hockey, so I went to the internet and that went on hockey Twitter, which back in the day was nuts. Not what it is today, but
it's still nuts.
It's still nuts.
Still pretty crazy.
It always will be. But
Yeah.
we're lucky enough now where we have creators that have communities that are really supportive and welcoming for people. And while we're on this topic, though, you brought up that you collect things, and as somebody that also collects jerseys, I have to ask because I get it all the time. Do people ever question your fandom because you own multiple jerseys?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, you make videos on all 32 teams the way I do. It's funny too because in the playoffs, and this is something that I deal with a lot. Like I tell my girlfriend all the time, I'm like, "Oh, I'm a fan of this team today. I'm a fan of this team yesterday." And the funny thing too is I would post I did elimination videos for every team that got eliminated from the playoffs. I did it for the Ducks, I did it for the Oilers, I did it for the Stars, I did it for all the teams besides Florida, obviously. And in every single comment section, I got people clowning me because they thought I was a Rangers fan, or they thought I was a Hurricanes fan, or they thought I was a Ducks fan. It's unreal, how that happens. It's definitely something that I deal with. Absolutely.
Always. It's always I could never own another team's jersey. I'm like, okay, that's you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's you. It's part
I'll go
of
ahead and all 32. So
literally, and it baffles me. That people that's one thing that people point out. Who's your team? I'm like, it's very obvious who my team is if you look at my content. Even though you make stuff for all 32 teams, but people that just don't know or they just want to be jerks are in here saying stuff.
Do you have all 32 teams jerseys?
Pretty close. Obviously not Utah, but I think I'm missing.
I don't have Utah either, actually. Who are you missing?
I'm missing. I don't have Seattle yet, which I need to. I know. Who am I missing? I have a Winnipeg Jets shirt. I have merch from almost all 32, but jerseys I don't. Who else am I missing? I don't have a Stars jersey. That's on purpose because I'm like, I'm gonna wait till the last minute to buy that one.
Wait till the very end.
Wait till the very end. Nashville too. I don't have a Preds jersey because I hate the Preds. The teams that I hate, I'm waiting until it's either gifted to me or I come across one that's because I love thrifting them and getting them for a good deal. If I can avoid spending a lot of money, I will, especially on teams that I just don't love. So,
me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
So I think I'm missing a few, but I'm hoping this season I'll finish completely.
Gotta keep me updated when you'll get done.
I will.
We'll do a collection together. We'll verse our jerseys off against each other or something.
Oh, let's do it.
That'd be awesome. I don't the funny thing is too is my mom supplied all of these jerseys, and God bless her. She's probably spent so much money on this room. But, I will have the most obscene jerseys ever. That Sharks jersey, that was from, the 90s. This
That's
Ducks
gorgeous,
jersey
though. That's the best one.
Yeah. And then I have, in the corner down there, sorry for the text, the Anaheim Ducks, the Minnesota Wild, I'm losing my mind, alternate jersey down there that's just I hate it so much, but I have so many random jerseys in my collection. It's insane.
Right. Hey, it counts. It counts.
It does count. Hopefully eventually I'll be able to get all the the Adidas jerseys, but I guess not anymore.
Well, now the Fanatics jerseys, which I got hate for having Fanatics the Premier Breakaway ones too. And I'm like, dude, I'm not going to drop $300 on Adidas jerseys for everybody. I'm not rolling in that kind of cash. Unless...
Yeah.
So I hate the jersey shaming. Why... Yeah, I get it. We all know Fanatics sucks, but they also have... And does it look the best? No. I hate the reflective logo. I don't think it looks great. But, for a lot of people, that's what they can afford. And, I just don't think that it's worth it to shame people for not dropping $300 on a jersey, because that's a lot of money. And especially if you're not going to be playing in it, who cares?
Yeah. Especially if you're just wearing it for, a night at a game or literally on a podcast. What's the point of even buying it?
Where you're going to get, mustard, soda, beer, God knows what else on it. Or
exactly.
Easy to clean, all those things. It's so pointless. People are oh, you only have the Fanatics jerseys. I'm like, bite me, okay?
I remember...
You want me in Adidas jerseys? You Venmo me the money. How about that?
Yeah, exactly. I I remember I spilled like Chickies and Pete's sauce
Yeah.
on a jersey at a game, and I was like, oh no. Anyway, so like like again, and it was
Oh,
and actually it was a Carter Hart jersey, so I won't be wearing that jersey again.
yeah,
Actually, you know what?
that's going in retirement, isn't
Maybe
it?
I'll just put more stuff on it. Maybe I'll
Yeah,
just eat
that's
wear
in
when I
the
eat.
graveyard.
Yeah, it's in the jersey graveyard. That probably won't be pulled out of the closet for a long time.
Yeah.
Anywho, moving on now to the other things we do need to discuss. So one of the biggest things that I wanted to talk about with you was the Cutter Gauthier versus Matvey Michkov thing. So Cutter Gauthier got traded to the Anaheim Ducks in January of this past year for Jamie Drysdale and a second-round pick in next year's draft. And the outrage from Flyers fans when it came out that Gauthier didn't want to play for Philadelphia, didn't talk to Briere or Jones in the World Juniors, was absolutely unbelievable. I remember when Drysdale first came to town. And I think even too, like, I made a video on it, you made a video on it. I think I even tagged you on it and said, enjoy Cutter Gauthier. And I remember Drysdale's first game. Kid got an assist on a goal. And when they said his name, like, it said assisted by Jamie Drysdale, that building exploded. Like, I wish I was there for that game. It was freaking unbelievable. And it seems like the guy has just become a Philly icon within, like, the first game of him playing. So when the trade broke, what were your thoughts on it, and what was your instant reaction? Because you like Drysdale, right?
Drysdale wasn't, injury wise, the kid just it couldn't catch a break. So
yeah,
it really it felt like he really never had a chance to, which was nobody's fault. You can't predict injuries; it just is what it is. But it really felt like the kid never really found his groove here. Which is a shame because he was a fan favorite. There's people still upset that he's not on the team anymore. And the reaction, first of all, the fact that they kept that trade so under wraps is the biggest shock to me. The fact that it was the Ducks and the Flyers accounts that broke the trade. Bob McKenzie, Pierre LeBrun, even Saravalli, who lives in Philly, had no knowledge of it. Or if they did, they didn't break it. Which, knowing Saravalli, he leaked the entire Seattle expansion draft. If he had known that,
I remember that. He
would have leaked it.
God.
So, I had to double take. I had to double take because I obviously knew who Cutter Gauthier was, but I was looking and I'm like, wait, who did we trade from? And I had to look again. That Jamie Drysdale. I was like, yo, it was one of those things you just don't expect it. Nobody saw it coming. But then you sit down and you think about it and you're like, it makes sense. When a talent like that comes on the trade market and you have a player that you can offer in trade for him, the whole situation too, I did a whole video breaking down the timeline and everything, and obviously we don't know what exactly happened. We don't know what it was that changed the course of Cutter Gauthier and his feelings towards being a Flyer. But, and you could argue, was it handled the most maturely? Obviously not. The Flyers were pretty left in the dark in a lot of regard. And I don't think it's a bad thing that players, having a say over and having some control over where they play and where they want to play. Obviously, as a young guy, that there's that Flyers, there's that old school mentality where you have to earn your stay, kind of earn, having a say like that. You go to the team you're drafted to and things like that. And obviously, it's tough to judge. Was it handled the best? Obviously not. But it's really tough to judge off because we don't know what happened. Something happened that changed the tides here, and it wasn't torts. It wasn't, you're checking off all the things that it wasn't from what, Cutter has said, and he's done everything but say exactly what it was. So,
yeah.
That aside, as far as, when you sit down with the trade, you're like, you know what? The Ducks have a lot of talent on the blue line. The one thing they were missing from their draft stock was a pure goal scorer. Guy that loves to shoot the puck. And Cutter Gauthier is that. So, you're
crazy World Juniors.
Right.
So.
And you're a guy like Pat Verbeek, and you see him come to market, that he's available, and you've got young guys to offer. Might as well. And Jamie's talent, Jamie's experience speaks for itself. You can look at the things he's able to do. Amazing skater. Watching him, I loved watching him play hockey when he was healthy, and he was just coming into his. It really was a shame that he was injured not last season, but the season before, because that really was the year you were going to see him really take that next step into an NHL defenseman. Like, he was going to be that guy. So as disappointing as it was to see Jamie go, obviously getting a guy like Cutter Gauthier in return, like, you got to be excited about it. I remember getting a lot of hate online because I said that, hey, as far as, Pat Verbeek saw a guy that was available that he wanted, he went out and got him. Like, he improved the prospect pool. He saw a need. He addressed it with a position that the Ducks are well stocked at the blue line. So, they could afford to let go of a guy like Jamie. And I got met with so many subtweets, so much hate. Like, we're allowed to be upset about Jamie Drysdale, okay? Like, we're allowed to be hurt about our favorite player leaving or someone we love, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, grow up. Like, I don't care. Cry me a river, respectively. Like, yes, like, be upset. You're entitled to your feelings about your favorite player leaving. Trust me. I remember Corey Perry getting bought out by the Ducks, all right? I wasn't happy about it either.
I remember that time, too.
But I got over it, all right? The sun will rise in the morning. Jamie Drysdale is not dead. He's just across the country playing on a team. Hey, and I love that, he went to a franchise that seemingly, the reaction, I love that he was welcomed with open arms. And although, it was from, on the end of, calling him quit, with the guy, saying he didn't want to play there. So you're like, oh, we're going to embrace this new guy. Hey, might as well. Like, I will defend the Ducks fans and the fan bases as well. There's just no comparison between Southern California fans and Philadelphia sports fans. Like,
well, we're insane. So that's all I'm going to say to you.
It's one of those situations where, like, Philly, and that's why I always respect about Philly sports fans. I love the passion, I love the enthusiasm, but if you suck, if you're not doing your job, they will let you know. There's accountability in Philadelphia, and I have always respected that. So, Philly fans get a lot of heat. Sports-wise, Eagles fans, everybody get all across sports, they get heat. But I, as somebody that loves sports, I love the passion. I love the dedication. I love the Go Birds. Wherever you go, I love that. I wish there was a thing out here. It never will be. But if I told somebody, if I went to somebody, I was like, "Go Ducks," they'd be like, "Leave me alone." Like, what? Or they think
I will say this about sports. Our two baseball teams, the Phillies and the Dodgers, are like, they're up there, first and second in the league.
They are. The Dodgers
make me want to.
The Dodgers make me want to throw my head into a wall, but they're great.
The Phillies are kind of falling off right now. The fall off needs to be studied from them. So
that's the thing with baseball. It's such a long season where, like, you remind yourself, hey, we're having a really good season, but then there's, like, the moments, like the Dodgers blew a 5-run lead to the Padres last night and lost. Yep. So there's moments like that where you're like, I hate this team so much, and then the next day they win. You're like, welcome back. But there's a bit of playoff history too between the Phillies and the Dodgers that I'm not too fond of, but that's all right.
So I want to put something into perspective here for you. So the Flyers and the Ducks only play twice in a year. That's just how the NHL schedule is.
Yeah.
I think the first time they play is in Anaheim. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it's the first time they play in Anaheim, which, again, it is kind of a big game because it's Cutter Gauthier's first game against his former team. There's the thing there with that. But it's when Cutter comes to town is when things get really interesting. So I want to put something into perspective here for you.
January 11th?
It's around there, yes. I think it's January 11th. So the home opener, I'm looking at TickPick right now. The home opener for the Flyers versus Canucks is $84 for the cheapest ticket right now.
Okay.
I'm sure it'll get cheaper as it comes along, obviously.
Yeah.
You look through a lot of these, $50, $55. You see the Rangers come to town, $112. Utah Hockey Club, $66. Flyers versus Ducks, cheapest ticket, $103. So, Flyers fans are prepared to come in and boo this guy. And it's funny, too, because, you only see that for, the big teams. You got the Rangers here, $110. Flyers versus Penguins is always a great game. That's like $110 as well. But Flyers Ducks, if Cutter stayed on Philly and like that never happens, that game would not cost as much as it is.
No.
And I think it's because it's in Philly on a Saturday night. That game's going to be very interesting, and I'm very
they
excited
did that on
for it to
purpose.
come.
They made sure it was a Saturday night, too.
Yes, they did. The NHL, I'm surprised our home opener wasn't against the Ducks. I'm not going to lie to you, because that would have been one hell of a game.
I'm glad they did. I hate when there's a big game or like a big like someone's return, someone's this, and it's so early in the season. It's like home first week. You're like, build up some momentum here. Come on, like build up the suspense. Let's see, let these two guys, especially you talk about, the Michkov, Gauthier, the Calder race comparison. Let's see. By January, we're gonna get a pretty good picture of where those two stand as far as the Calder race goes and where they rank. And with Matt, obviously Celebrini needs to be. The Calder race is gonna be interesting this year.
Yes, that's gonna be great too.
I would argue even more interesting. This year wasn't that interesting. We knew it was gonna be Connor Bedard, but this year I think, especially with Michkov coming into the fold, it's pretty wide open. I'm very intrigued to see what happens. But I'm sure there's going to be extra security at the gates to make sure no batteries come in, no whatever else.
Signs. Me and my podcast partner, who's also on this pod, he's a Flyers fan. He's also a big Trevor Zegras fan, ironically enough. It sucks he couldn't join us here today. But we have been talking about, and we talked about it last episode too when Michkov came over. We were saying, like, he lives in Winnipeg. He was going to make the trip down and meet me down here for this game so we can just boo the hell out of Cutter. So if you want to come too, and we can have some fun, you can come down and we can boo Cutter.
I'm not booing him, but I've looked at it. It's definitely on my list in terms of games to travel to. So I'm all for rivalries. We're in an age where rivalries are dead. They're not what they used to be. Like, it's just, there's no bad blood. There's no intensity around them anymore. And like, I don't know if it's scheduling. I don't know what, I think you can blame a lot of things on why rivalries just kind of aren't at the height that they were, but I am all for it. Like, give it to me. I want blood. I want hatred. I want it. So I'm all for this, especially like an unconventional one like the Flyers and the Ducks.
Yeah, especially like two teams that like play each other like twice a year. Once in their own building. Yeah. So like it's just it's gonna be a great game. Imagine in a few years too down the road they'll be meeting up in the Stanley Cup Finals.
Let's speak it into existence, friend. Let's speak it into existence.
Let's make it happen.
I would love nothing more.
All right, moving into some news around the National Hockey League. Thank you for watching. There's been just signings. A lot of extensions from RFAs, like Ken Johnson signed a 3-year, $1.8 million deal. Johnson coming off of a very bad year, facing time in the AHL. I think he's a guy that could definitely bounce back this coming year. Kirill Marchenko, 3 years, $3.85 million. Also a very solid forward who came out of nowhere in Columbus, a guy that essentially wasn't looked at to be a big-name guy, came in, put up really good numbers, and I think has a really bright future ahead. Brock Faber. This is a surprising one. So I figured that we would see a little bit before Faber would sign a contract with the Wild, but he signed a 8-year, $8.5 million deal that begins in 25-26. This guy's coming off of his rookie season. He carried the Minnesota Wild's blue line. He was a Calder finalist. He was arguably a guy that could have been, you could have argued him over Bedard, to be honest with you, for the Calder Trophy. And this changes his life. He got an $8.5 million deal at such a young age. I think that it's incredible for someone like Faber to get this deal. Marty Necas also signed to a 2-year, $6.5 million deal. There were rumors that Necas was going to get traded, whether it was from Saravelli or not. But Necas, obviously, it's good that they got him locked up. Now they got to focus on Seth Jarvis. That takes another big name off of the RFA market. Also with the Carolina Hurricanes, they have announced that they are going to retire Eric Stahl's number 12. He also retired this past week as well, so wishing the best to Eric Stahl. I remember him in his days with the Minnesota Wild, the Sabres, the Canadiens. He's been around everywhere. He was such a journeyman in the last couple of years of that contract. Ryan Lindgren signed a 1-year, $4.5 million deal. I think this is a great deal. Lindgren, a great defensive defenseman. I think it's perfect. Apart from that, it's been a lot of minor signings. The Canadians made a few moves, signing Jakai, Barron, and Goulet. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, apart from a few, media headlines and a couple other things that I guess you could talk about, but really just kind of crickets around the National Hockey League.
It's that lovely time, which I personally love that Brock Faber signing because I know Kings fans are so mad about that still, and it just
absolutely. You look at the terms
much
of their line right now.
And I think Kevin Fiala is a great player, don't get me wrong, and he's contributed really well, but you look at that Kings blue line, you're like, wouldn't you love to have Brock Faber right now?
Absolutely. Man, he would fit in great with Drew Doughty. Man, that would be perfect.
Oh.
So, but
give me one. I need to get my computer charger real quick. It's because this is going to die, so give me 1 second.
Oh, alrighty. All right, so we'll transition into our next one here. And our last one, this shouldn't take too long, but Leon Draisaitl. There have been talks that a potential Leon Draisaitl extension may be happening soon. Now, these rumors were just shut down by Ryan Rishaug, who said they are not close to an extension, but he did say that any things that have come close are kind of premature as of right now. However, there have been some things that have been circulating in the media recently, like Oilers Nation reported that the Draisaitl contract could look like a 7 to 8 year deal along those lines. So we'll see if Draisaitl gets somewhere around that contract. And I'm not 100% sure about the AAV or anything like that, but obviously it's going to be a big contract. He could get paid some significant money, and I think that Draisaitl probably is deserving of that money for sure, and we'll see what comes of that there with him. But Annie, what are your viewpoints on this? What do you expect Draisaitl to?
Okay.
What exactly do you think his deal is going to be? And I think she froze on us again. We'll be right back. All right, this time her computer died. All right, Annie, what are your thoughts on Leon Draisaitl possible extension? What do you think his contract could look like, and could you see him leaving Edmonton in a few years? Like, where do you stand on this?
If you had asked me in November of this past year, my answer would have been different. I think I would have said, they want to go win. They want to go to a place where, they're going to get built around, because that's got to be frustrating especially for the longest time for McDavid and Leon, was that, you have all this talent, but not enough to get past where they need to in the playoffs, which obviously this year making the final, you have, you're close. You're as close as they've been and close as you're going to get into a Game 7, obviously. But I think at this point, I think Leon stays. I really do. I know there was talk about, the San Jose rumor was going around a bit. I was like, I don't see that. He's not leaving Connor to go to San Jose. Not now. Like, why? Especially if success at a cup is what you want. Like, you're not gonna go to the Sharks. At least not now. At least not now.
Yeah, not for a few more years.
Exactly. But I do see. Money wise, he's up there with McDavid. I think. I think he gets
the highest paid player.
Easily it's funny, you kind of see the market. It's kind of not exactly the way football is, where you see like the next big guy, like the next position player, like they kind of reset the market.
Yes.
Especially you see it with quarterback. Like Jordan Love now is the highest paid quarterback, in which he has no business being the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Mm-hmm. The NHL doesn't exactly work like that, but you do see the market kind of set itself year in and year out like that. So I could definitely see Leon absolutely could be getting top dollar money when the time comes, and I do see them doing an extension. You don't want to risk getting him to free agency.
Well, with the cap rising, the contracts are going to get bigger. Like, we saw Travis Konechny get locked up to basically an 8x8, and had it been a couple years ago, no way he would have gotten an 8x8. So again, just showing the cap is rising, these contracts are going to get more expensive, and I think Draisaitl could land himself in a $13.5, maybe even $14 million deal. I think McDavid will get higher than him the year following. So
yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all.
Like you said, for a wild ride.
Yeah, As long as there's certain tiers of players where you're like, okay, like yeah, they may not, the best player may not be getting the most money, but you have, your tier of guys that are going to be in that range. You've got your Matthews, your McDavids, your McKinnons, those guys that are all in the double digits in terms of money value. You got your high-ranking defensemen too, and obviously you have Erik Karlsson who's still hanging around in that 11 million number, which
yep, for like 3 or 4 more years.
3, 4, yeah. Well, the Penguins are on the hook for 10 million of that. Yeah, they only got. There was barely any I think San Jose is only on the hook for $1 million, or $1 million and change of that salary retention. Which, hey, good move by Greer at that point. That's that whole deal. I think about that. I was like, it was a lose-lose either way. The win of that is that you're only covering $1 million. You only have $1 million of dead cap.
I think Greer wins that by a mile because the Penguins gave up their first. They gave a lot of bad contracts to San Jose, which San Jose flipped to other teams for other assets as well. So I would say that they won that deal. And Greer has just done a terrific job with San Jose. That's the biggest
and he's gotten a lot of heat too, especially the Timo Meier deal could have ended better. I think he could have gotten more from Meier from New Jersey.
Absolutely.
But the move for Brent Burns was great. People forget that the situation he inherited, where you have a bunch of those bad contracts tied up, which is honestly a horrible situation to come into because these are all fan favorites, of course, but your job is to come in and rebuild. And, Greer being a former player, he has stake in the organization that he loves, that he played for. So he obviously wants the team to be good. So he, comes in, he gets rid of that Hurdle deal, which was a shock at the deadline, of course. But in turn, able to offload those bad contracts, build up the prospect pool. You see, able to land Macklin Celebrini too is phenomenal. I mean, that's a dream for a new GM. I mean, he's less than, I think he was hired, 2022, I want to say.
I believe so.
That's right, 2022. So 2 years in and you've landed the first overall pick in Macklin Celebrini? I mean, that's...
Dude's been cooking.
And that ain't too bad there. And even to trade up for 10 too, I think job well done so far. It's as far as the situation he inherited and the job to rebuild this team. I think he's off to a really great start. It's just there's work to be done, but we'll see what else he can do. I don't think he'll getting that Vlasic contract off the books. I will be floored if he can do that.
I don't know if they particularly want to just eat. Yeah, exactly. But again, we kind of went off track there. But going back to Draisaitl, definitely going to get a lot of money on his deal. The last thing, and I completely forgot about this. I skipped to the Draisaitl thing immediately. ESPN released their top 25 best players from the 2000s, and it's interesting to say the least. They already did a great job in quotations, with their top 100 players from since 2000. So their top 10 here, I'll go into the top 10 before we go into the rest. Sidney Crosby, number 1. Ovechkin, number 2. McDavid, 3. Patrick Kane, 4. Nicholas Lidstrom, 5. Nathan McKinnon, 6. Marty Brodeur, 7. Henrik Lundqvist, 8. Evgeny Malkin, 9. Patrice Bergeron, 10. And then he has Char at 11. Just such a weird list.
It's ESPN and making lists is a diabolical pair. Every time I'm just like, who made this? And you go to look and it always says ESPN staff. And you're like, of course it is. Of course it is.
Yeah, of course. They know nothing about hockey. And that's not to say that... And listen. I brought on Arda O'Call, who is an amazing person, amazing hockey knowledge. But I can clearly tell he did not make this list. He did not. He probably had no say in this.
He probably didn't know what was happening. He was like, huh?
Yeah, he probably saw it come out at the same time we did. And again, if he did make this, then I'm sorry. But regardless, it's ridiculous. Like Duncan Keith. Pavel Datsyuk at 22.
Yeah, first of all, no Jonathan Taves on a top 25 list like that is ridiculous.
Uh-huh.
There has to be some bad blood against the Blackhawks in that list, because why else would you have Patrick Kane? And I get it, he's on the Red Wings right now, so that's his picture. But you put Duncan Keith in an Oilers jersey?
Yeah, That I thought was funny. That's a funny troll they did. And that shows that, like, they have no idea what they're talking about.
No,
like,
no Jonathan Taves. I was shocked they have Anze Kopitar on there. I was like, okay, I give you props for that, because you see him just glazed over all the time. And listen, if that man played on the East Coast, people are talking about him like he's Patrice Bergeron. As someone that is on the other side of a rivalry that has faced off against him time and time again, that is one of the most underrated players in that group of players, in that generation, easily. But the fact that my biggest gripe on there, and this is my biggest not hot take, because other people think this too, but how do you have Marc-Andre Fleury on this list but you don't have Carey Price?
Exactly.
How?
Like, I don't understand it.
I'm taking Carey Price 7 days out of 7 over Marc-Andre Fleury. I'm sorry. It just I don't know how you can justify that. I really don't. And I'm somebody the love of I get Marc-Andre Fleury's funny. He's very nice. He's a great person. I get that. But as far as a goaltender goes, he should not be on this list. He shouldn't be.
Yeah, and I understand why they put, like, goaltenders on this list, because goalies often get overlooked on some lists. Yeah. And this is something that I do too, because it's hard to put goalies in with players. It's a completely different position. Like, how could you justify putting Marty Brodeur at set? Like, it's kind of hard to do. I understand why they did it, but again, just some of the things they did was just not it. I probably would have put Claude Giroux before Fleury on this list. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I would have put Jonathan Quick's 25.
Yeah.
Put Jonathan Quick. I'd put Jonathan Quick over Marc-Andre Fleury.
Quick carried 2 LA Kings teams to championships, and I don't think people understand, like, how insane he was in both those runs.
Right,
like,
they don't.
He is insane. Like, he was unbelievable, and even this past year he was good too, at his age. So it's just mind-boggling some of the things they have on this list. So
my biggest gripe is, wins to me. Wins are a goalie stat. The wins are a team stat. They're not a goalie stat. So if your biggest crutch, if your big claim to fame is that you're high on the wins list, like, that's not enough for me to put you that high. And that's Marc-Andre Fleury's thing. He's had a lot of okay. What else have you done? Like, what else to your resume? And I'll go as far to say that I don't think he was the rightful Vezina winner when he won the Vezina. I thought there were better. He won it
in a shortened year in 2021.
There were better goalies that year.
Yep.
And I get why people were waiting for a chance to give him a Vezina, because he's so likable. I understand that. Listen, I know how this works, all right? But it's just he'll get into the Hall of Fame, because you'll look at that Penguins resume, you'll look at the Cups, you'll look at the Vezina. It won't be first ballot unless there's something unless the committee decides to do something together, recreationally before they go in. They're like, hey, let's put him in. No. I don't think he gets in first ballot. But, yeah, you look at that list and you just kind of think back to, the whole generation. I mean, I'd argue I'd put Nick Lidstrom higher than Patrick Kane, personally, just as far as a defenseman goes and his impact on the game. But, yeah, the fact that the big omissions of Carey Price and Jonathan Taves, to me, automatically make this list just discreditable.
Yeah, and it's ESPN, too, so I'm not really surprised. Yeah. I remember one year they made a list where it was, like, the best players in the playoffs, and they had, like, all these Maple Leafs on there. I think they had, like, Matthews at 1, and I'm like, what the hell am I witnessing? And it was at the time too where, like, the Leafs couldn't get out of the first round. They, like, they weren't so good. They would lose in 7 every year, and they had, like, Matthews at 1 and, like, Nylander it was ridiculous. I don't know if you remember that, but that was, like,
I do.
When they initially got into it.
I get it. You want people to react, you want engagement, you want people talking about things, but you're ESPN, you are a broadcasting platform for this game. You need to present information like this. If you have, especially ESPN, where you have credibility, you have value. People go to ESPN as a trusted source. So you can't treat it like it's just like for views, engagement, or gossip, things like that. Like, you have to take these things seriously, because people will. Like, you have to take it beyond just engagement, in my opinion. I think as ESPN, you have that responsibility, and the fact that they do this is just, like, it's so annoying. It drives me absolutely nuts.
I remember the one year where they like asked the question on one show where it's like which New York sports team's the closest to winning a cup or winning a championship, and one of the guys said Rangers, and they were like they don't count.
They don't count. Stephen A. doesn't know about hockey. That's right. I did a video.
It was Gary Bettman.
It's just like you've been broadcasting the game for 2 years, and you have to sit there. I get it, you're not on the hockey broadcast team, but you should be able. You broadcast in New York. You should be able to speak to major headlines regarding the team. Especially they had just traded for Patrick Kane, too, just a few days prior. Like, you should be talking about that on First Take. You should be talking about... And they bring on PK, which that's, I think PK's very entertaining. He's got charisma, all that. Mm-hmm. I don't think, as far as his takes go, I don't love them. And some of the things he talks about, like, it's the same regurgitated takes with him with the Oilers. Like...
Yeah.
Like, you could tell, like, certain points in time, like, he was not watching them. He was...
Exactly. Yeah. That's all I got for today's episode of the NordCast. Annie, thank you for coming on. This is a great episode. That was
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I apologize for the couple technical difficulties there.
No worries. No worries.
That'll make editing... I'm sure that'll make editing a pain for you. I apologize.
But, no problem. We had an episode... We had an episode where we brought on... The guy we brought on before us... Zach Sadden, we brought him on in like April. One of my co-hosts was on a cruise ship, and Zach's audio was already not that good as it is, and the cruise ship like video didn't convert, so we had to scrap the whole thing. Yes, so nowhere near as bad as that was. But regardless, Annie, thank you for coming on. We really do appreciate it. And any final thoughts?
No, thank you so much for having me. I just want to say that I literally, like, you have such a bright future, and I so admire and appreciate your grind and your work ethic. I mean, the fact that you've been at this since middle school is insane, and that you are already miles ahead of people that are, decades older than you. So keep at it. You are immensely talented. Don't fucking stop. Respectfully.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
All right.
For you, my man.
Yes, I hope so. I really hope so. All right, this will conclude episode number 65 of the NordCast. Thank you for watching or listening. If you enjoyed on the YouTube end of things, be sure to like, subscribe down below. I really appreciate it. And if you're watching on the audio end of things, give us a good review. Tell your friends, listen to the other episodes. If you want to follow the NordCast on Instagram, follow at NordCast_. If you want to follow the TikTok, follow at NordCast. If you want to follow the Twitter, follow at NordCast_. And that'll do it for this episode today of the NordCast. I am Nordic, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Adios.